In this section, I will talk about the different areas outside the brain. The sheep brain will be the example I will use. I will start by pointing at the anterior portion. I will then turn it over to the inferior portion to show in the brain where the eyeballs of the sheep would be at. I then grab the spinal cord, which is posterior of the brain. I am now going to be cutting through the dura mater from the anterior view down the sagittal section all the way down to the posterior, but stopping before getting to the spinal cord. The meninges are 3 layers of membranes that cover and protect your brain and spinal cord. The outer part, which I am cutting, is the outer layer closest to your skull. Gnoid matter would be the middle layer, and the pie matter is the inner layer closest to your brain tissue. Here is the medial sagittal fissure down the middle, and as I turn the brain around, the area that separates the cerebral from the cerebellum is the cerebral fissure, right across there. And then right down the cerebellum, there's an area where the ridge is at, which is called the vernus. The vernus is the unpaired medium portion of the cerebellum that connects the 2 hemispheres. Let me demonstrate and point to where the vernus would be at. We're using the sheep brain as an example because it's similar to the human brain. They have 2 brain stems, 2 optic nerves, and 2 hemispheres, but they are different in size and in function. I will be talking about the dura mater. The dura mater is the outer, thick, strong membrane layer located directly under your skull and vertebrae column. In Latin, dura mater means hard mother. The dura mater consists of 2 layers of connective tissues. One side of the dura attaches to the skull, and the other adheres to the middle membrane layer, the arachnoid matter. Your dura mater contains a drainage system called the dural venous sinuses, which allows blood to leave your brain and allows cerebral spinal fluid to re-enter circulation. Your dura mater receives its blood supply from the middle meningeal artery and vein. Your trigeminal nerve runs through it. We will now be discussing the 3 different locations on the inferior portion of the sheep brain.
Next, we will be looking at the pituitary gland. Your pituitary gland, also known as hypophysis, is a small pea-sized gland located at the base of your brain below your hypothalamus. It's a part of your endocrine system and is in charge of making several essential hormones. Your pituitary gland also tells the other endocrine system glands to release hormones. Your pituitary gland is divided into 2 main sections: the anterior pituitary, also known as the front lobe, and the posterior pituitary, also known as the back lobe. Your pituitary is connected to your hypothalamus through a stalk of blood vessels and nerves called the pituitary stalk, also known as infundibulum. Next, we will be looking at the medulla oblongata. The medulla oblongata is the bottommost part of your brain. Your medulla oblongata is a part of your brainstem which connects your brain to your spinal cord. That makes your medulla a major connection point to your nervous system. It also manages many of the most important functions of your body. And last, we will be looking at the pons. Your pons is the second lowest section of your brainstem, just above your medulla oblongata. It forms a key connection between your brain above it and your medulla oblongata and spinal cord below it. Your pons is a key merging point for several of your cranial nerves, which are nerves with direct connections to your brain. Those nerve connections are vital, helping with several of the senses on or in your head, plus your ability to move various parts of your face and mouth.
In this section, we'll be talking about the 6 different nerves.
Olfactory nerve, optic nerve, oculomotor nerve, trochlear nerve, trigeminal nerve, abducens nerve. In this picture, we'll be talking about the cranial nerves. The first nerve we'll be talking about is the olfactory nerve. The olfactory nerve is the first cranial nerve. It is also part of the autonomic nervous system, which regulates body functions. This nerve enables your sense of smell. The second cranial nerve is the optic nerve. And the optic nerve relays messages from your eyes to your brain to create visual image. The third cranial nerve is the oculomotor nerve. And this nerve helps to adjust and coordinate eye position during movement. The fourth cranial nerve is the trochlear nerve. This nerve enables movement in the eye's superior oblique muscle. This makes it possible to look down. The nerve also enables you to move your eye forward, towards your nose and away from it. The fifth nerve is the trigeminal nerve, sometimes called the great sensory nerve of the face. It is the largest of the cranial nerves. It has 3 branches: the ophthalmic, the maxillary, and the mandible. From these, it receives sensation of a conscious nature, such as touch, temperature, and pain, and controls the muscle for chewing. And the sixth cranial nerve is the abducens nerve. And the abducens nerve is a purely somatic motor nerve. It has no sensory function. It innervates the lateral rectus muscle, which is responsible for the abduction of the eye on the same side. And that is the last of the cranial nerves we'll be talking about on this picture.
There are 5 different lobes in our brain. We will talk about 3 different ones. The frontal lobe is located behind your head at the very front. It manages thinking, emotions, personality, judgment, self-control, muscle control, and movement. The peripheral lobe is a key part of understanding the world around you. The peripheral lobe rests near the top and center of the cerebral cortex, just behind the frontal lobe and above the occipital and temporal lobes. The occipital lobe sits in the back of the head and is responsible for visual perception, including color, form, and motions.